Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, what I'm going to talk about is the things that you should be doing after sex. Now, I'm going to assume that most of you who are listening has had sex at least once in your lifetime. But there's probably a few things that you're not doing after sex that you really should be doing. Keep in mind that, there's books and there's a whole bunch of other things that you can learn about what to do before sex, but not a lot of people talk about what you should be doing after sex. So I'm gonna drop a little science on you. Sit back, relax. I'll drop the theme music and we'll get the podcast jumping. Let's get it. Welcome back. As I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk about the things that you should be doing after sex. Again, I will assume that if you're listening to this podcast, you've had sex. If you haven't, I guess it sucks to be you. I don't know what to say. It's 2018 at the time of this recording. If you haven't had sex, I really don't know what to tell you. Nonetheless, full disclosure, my wife and I, we have 4 kids, but I've only had sex once. So we won't be talking about me on this podcast. Nonetheless, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that you can learn about, what to do, leading up to sex. There's a lot that you can learn about what to do, during sex and how to perform sex. But there's not really a lot of talk about what to do after sex. And that's where this podcast comes in. I like to, drop science and teach the people some things. To be honest, this is something that I actually ran across and just, perusing the internet. You find crazy things. I'm amazed at how some of the stuff that I read turns into podcasts. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, that sounds like, something to bring to the to the podcast. So nonetheless, that's how we got to this point. One of the first things that I think that you probably should do, that was mentioned in the article that I read, discreetly dispose of the condom. I can't tell you how important that is. It's very important. And the reason being is that a lot of guys don't really consider this, but you can, you can get a pretty good idea about a guy as to how he, gets rid of the rubber. And I'm laughing, but you get the seriousness of it. It could be awkward, but how you do it and how you go about it. Now, fellas, you can't just pull it off and just sling it across the room. Come on, man, have some coof about yourself. Nonetheless, like I said, just taking it off and tossing it on the floor, that's not the move. On the real, take it off, wrap it in some toilet paper, and, flush it down the toilet. Now, I don't know if it's just me or cats that I've been around, but I've heard cats say that you're not supposed to flush it down the toilet because you could, mess up the toilet. I've heard that, but nah. don't give a damn about the toilet. You flush it down the toilet. I mean, I think I've heard some people say that you should like put, wrap it in some toilet paper and put it in a trash can. The problem with that is that, like, if you're not at your spot, if you're at her spot, then, you don't know how frequent she takes out the trash. And I mean, like, it could be sitting in the trash. Nah, man, come on. Wrap it in some toilet paper, flush it down the toilet. Perfect. And like I said, you don't want to be sloppy with it. You gotta make sure that you handle this and do it very discreetly. And the thing about putting it in the trash can is that, like, nobody wants to see like a drippy condom hanging in their trash can. You know what I'm saying? A loaded up condom. Nah, man, come on. Again, have some have some class about yourself, fellas. Or ladies, if you take it off of him, which I think is, supremely dope. If you take it off of him, take it off of him, wrap it up, put it in like I said, nice little roll of toilet paper and flush it down the toilet. And again, I don't know that it does anything to your toilet, but I think that's a better look than throwing a rubber in the trash can. But hey, maybe that's just me. Again, talking to a guy who had sex one time in his life. Yeah, so do that. Discreetly get rid of the condom. I think that's very, very cool. And that's a very mature way of thinking. Second thing, fellas and ladies, offer your partner some refreshments. This goes a long way, I think. And the reason why I say that is because, sex is it's a physical act, right? So you're going to presumably, if it goes longer than a minute, you're going to work up a sweat, right? I mean, now, if you're down with the 60-30, well, actually, if you're down with the 60-30, you still might work up a sweat. And what I mean by 60-30, fellas, 60 pumps, 30 seconds. But let me get back on topic. Offer some refreshments. The reason why I say that is because, again, it's a physical act. And I think if you go to the bathroom and you put the condom in the toilet paper, flush it down the toilet, come back into the room, that's perfect time to offer some water, some Gatorade, some wine, something that's going to replenish your partner's thirst. Because again, it's a physical act. You're going to be thirsty, so I don't think it's a bad idea to offer, something to parch their throats. I just caught that. Nonetheless. Yeah, so do that. I think that's, for the fellas, I think that's being very hospitable, if you will. It doesn't mean that they got to spend a night. It doesn't mean that you got to kick rocks. I think that's just being, a gentleman, if you will. Offer them something to drink. Even if they decline, at least make the offer. Because, you may want something. You both are going to feel thirsty. I think it's being considerate, extremely considerate by doing just that. So, yeah, that's the second thing. Offer some refreshments. Now, when I say refreshments, I'm just strictly talking about something to drink. You don't want to offer like food. I mean, like, I'm totally against eating in bed, but that's just me. But yeah, at the very least, offer them something to drink. Trust me, your partner, ladies or gentlemen, your partner will appreciate it. They definitely will. The third thing, you definitely need a towel. You need a towel for two things: to clean yourself up and to cover up the wet spot. Because there's always a wet spot. So, you know, if we want, let's just keep it a buck. I mean, like, there is some cleaning up to do after sex. I mean, you don't want to have the room smelling like the room's gonna be smelling like post sex anyway. So the least that you should do, depending on whose spot you're at, fellas, if you're at her spot, or ladies, if you're at his spot, you know, offer up a towel or two, depending on how messy it is, and you know, clean up the wet spot, man, because there is a wet spot. I don't care, you know, where you go, there's gonna be a wet spot, or there may be multiple wet spots. I don't know. It just depends. So, you know, at the very least you can do is clean it up. If you plan to lay back down, you know, somebody got to lay in or near the wet spot, you want to have a towel. I mean, that, again, fellas, that's just a gentlemanly thing to do. And to be honest, that little gesture goes a long way, particularly if your partner is spending the night. If they're, you know, now if it's just, if boom, boom, bada boom, pow, pow, and then y'all go y'all separate ways, that might be a little bit different. But I think it's still a good idea, at the very least, to clean up yourselves, put the towel down for the wet spot. And, you know, I've seen or I've been told, I should say, because I've only had sex once. But I've been told that can be a, you know, post-sex joke, you know, the wet spot, you know. So, I mean, come on, let's get with the times, people. Put something down, put a towel down, cover up the wet spot, and keep it moving. Another thing that you should be doing after sex that you probably aren't doing, that I think is very necessary, and they also touched on it in this article, and it sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do it. Use the bathroom. I think that's very important for the man and the woman, or the woman and the woman, or the man and the man, however you get down. Use the bathroom. Peeing before sex and after sex gets rid of a lot of bacteria that can be in the penis or the vagina or the dick and the pussy, however you want. However you want to call it. I don't have to use proper words here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I do know for the ladies, you know, that can lead to urinary tract infections, UTIs. So yeah, that's very important. Use the bathroom. Pee before you do it. Pee after you do it. And, you know, I've found just in living and having conversations with people, I don't think that was really, at least let me just go back. For the people that I know, as far as friends that I've talked to, I don't know that was necessarily something that was preached to them as to something that they should do. And I'm trying to think, when my parents talked to me about sex, no, they never mentioned pee. So it's one of those things I had to learn on my own. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would highly suggest that. And again, it's not just for the ladies, fellas as well. You know, we're talking about bodily fluids here. So, yeah, you know, bacteria can be exchanged or picked up, and, you know, depending on how it went down, you know, it could be, you know, quite messy or whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, you still should go to the bathroom pre and post sex. It's a good idea. The other thing that you should do after sex, clean your sex toys. Yeah, you should clean your sex toys. So, listen, I don't know any of you, right? I don't know how y'all get down. I don't know what your steez is. I don't know how you kick it, right? But I will say this. More than a few of you who were listening to this podcast use sex toys. And so if you fall in that category, you should clean them after sex. I think it's only right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because, again, you're using your sex toy, and if it's not clean, I mean, like, what are you going to do? Put it back in the drawer? Put it put it back in the bag? You're definitely not taking it back to the store. You know, I don't know if you have a compartment that you keep it in. Nonetheless, you still need to clean it, because at some point it's going to be going back into someone's opening, I guess. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, man, clean your sex toys. And again, there may be some of you who are listening to this podcast and thinking, I would never use a sex toy. I mean, hey, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you, and your mama too. What I've found in living life is that, you know, more often than not, people do use sex toys. And I mean, I'm not judging you. Y'all know, anybody that knows me knows my motto. We're all freaks. Some just bigger than others. So, again, whatever you're using, you know, it has a mechanism that needs, you know, it's a mechanism that needs to be cleaned. It doesn't matter if it's glass or if it's metal or if it needs to be boiled in hot water or, you know, soapy water, hot soapy water. Get yourself a cleaner, and, you know, whatever you need to do, clean it. I don't know if you need to put some Lysol. I don't know, man. Maybe y'all hit me up in the comment section and let me know, you know, how exactly it goes down. Yeah, feel free. I meant to say that at the beginning, but feel free to drop a comment. Comments can be made on all streaming sites with the exception of Apple Podcasts. But I know SoundCloud has now got the thing where you can do it on the SoundCloud mobile. So yeah, drop me a comment if you dare. Let's see. Another thing that you need to do after sex, and they talked about this in the article too, you need to check in. And what I mean by that is sex is a very emotional, or can be in a very emotional event. You know, post sex, you need to kind of check in with that person and kind of recap and, you know, make sure that everything's cool. You know, because maybe they got hurt during sex. Maybe they didn't come during sex. Maybe the 60-30 was too much. I don't know. I mean, like, so you need to check in and kind of recap and make sure that, you know, they're cool with what happened. If it was good for, I mean, I don't mean like you got to be like, yo, was that the best dick you ever had? No, I don't mean like that, fellas. But you should check in with them, you know, in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Even if it's kind of understood that one person will be leaving that other person's spot before they leave, you know. Check in. So, did you enjoy yourself? You had a good time? You know what? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, you should, you know, check in. Definitely check in, because that's important. And I think, you know, a lot of times post sex, you know, that's where feelings can develop, and sometimes that's where stuff gets confused, especially if you're just quote unquote kicking it. I mean, but nonetheless, I mean, you can't just assume that the other person enjoyed it, or, you might have thought that you put in an Academy winning performance. And you might have just been all right. I mean, it's good to check in. And I think particularly if you're in a relationship or a marriage, hit them with the good stuff. Tell them what you liked about what they did and how it made you feel. I think that's cool because that opens the doorway for, a very sexy conversation and maybe more flirting. And, sometimes the check-in could lead to getting some more, like right then and there on the spot. I'm talking like 5 minutes later. You know what I'm saying? So it just depends. And it also could be a situation where when you check in, maybe they may say, okay, well, hey, I would have liked for you to have done this. So, be open to, I don't want to say criticism, but be open to what they are feeling. And I think that's important. It really is. Another thing that I came across in the article was they talked about the thing that you should be doing after sex. They said you should stay in bed and cuddle. I don't know about that, because you know what? Everybody's not down for the cuddle. And the reason why I say that is because don't get me wrong, cuddling is cool, it's dope, it's fun. But, some people can only cuddle. I mean, like, I can't cuddle you for so long because you're laying on my arm and my damn fingers are going to go numb, right? Because not getting enough blood circulation. But I think when you talk about staying in bed and cuddling, I think at the very least, you can't just jump out of bed and just run to the bathroom. There should be some quiet chill time after sex. I really do believe that. Chill together, whether or not it's cuddling or, just kind of talking to each other, or watching each other breathe, or, watching them sleep if you put it down. I'm sorry. Let me get back on track. But yeah, getting up to shower, use the bathroom is okay. Because you should shower and you should use the bathroom. But you still have to have that time, so I think that there's a fine line in there, and you just got to find that space to have that time and, kind of cuddle or not cuddle. And what I mean by that is that they also suggested in the article, and I agree, some people just aren't down for that. Some people aren't that touchy-feely, let's lay here and, talk about the world type of people. I mean, like, fellas, she really could be on some, I got mine, you got yours. Okay. When are you leaving? And fellas, I mean, and it's not anything wrong with that if that's how she feels. I mean, hopefully if you know that before you go over there. And ladies, vice versa. I mean, you have to kind of get the temperature for the person that you're having sex with, because everybody's not touchy-feely, cuddle up, staring, gaze into each other's eyes type of person. So, you got to be on the same page. And obviously one night stands, ain't gonna be no, it ain't gonna be no cuddling, bro. It's just not. I'm sorry. And, one thing that people kind of tend to get misconstrued, and they also mentioned this in the article, that just because, you have sex with someone doesn't make you obligated to stay over. But you probably should, communicate your intentions of what you want to do post-sex prior to sex. So, you got to keep those things in mind. But, if you're going to leave and not stay the night, then, you still shouldn't just get up and run out. But there's a method to how you should go about doing that. But overall, these are some of the things that people aren't doing after sex. And I think it's very important, especially as we get older and we can effectively communicate even better with, the people that we're having sex with, that, we let them know what it is that we think. We let them know what it is that we like. And we also let them know what it is that we don't like. And in that way, everybody's better. Or at least we should be. That's going to do it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5Gs.